Hey everybody, it's Nathan Cabrera here, and welcome to the Trip Ups and Triumphs podcast, where we keep it real about the setbacks, comebacks, and everything in between. Trip Ups and Triumphs, if this is your first time, is a podcast that keeps it real about the highs and lows of life. And I, your host, Nathan Cabrera, dive into raw conversations about failures, comebacks, and the lessons that turn setbacks into success. So whether you're grinding through a challenge or celebrating a win, this show is here to remind you it's all part of the journey. So expect real stories, unfiltered insights, and a few laughs along the way. Tune in and get inspired to turn your trip-ups into triumphs. And today's episode is sponsored by, oh, who am I kidding? There's no sponsors because this is a new show. So this is episode 2, and I don't even have a title for it as of writing. And I don't even know what I'm going to talk about today. I do and I don't. I had a plan and then I didn't. And yeah, let me tell you, Nathan is not feeling so hot. Sometimes we got to record, and just to keep things going, we just got to do it. We got to push it through. So if you missed last episode, you should go watch that one. That was Ready, Set, Go. And if I'm talking too fast, I apologize. Sometimes I get very excited. But we have a lot of things that are in store in the next coming weeks. And what I wanted to do first, before we get into some things, is play What the What? That's what I'm calling it right now. So if you have a better idea of what I should call it, feel free to comment below. But we're going to play What the What, where I share 3 different news stories or things, titles, whatever, yada, yada. And you have to guess which ones are real and which ones are fake. So, are you ready to play? First one is registration open for clothing optional K race in South Carolina. Okay. Next one is man steals bucket of fried chicken after visiting KFC. It's finger looking good. And then cat escapes Florida vet, takes nearly 3-mile journey. Now, when I read these, I felt like all of them are somewhat believable, right? But which one do you think is fake? What the what? Is it the race, stealing chicken, cat going home? Leave a comment, take the poll. Which way do we go? All right. If you guessed that the 5K race was legit, you were right. South Carolina Resort says it's already has a record 161 people sign up to run an annual 5K race with an unusual twist. It's clothing optional. Very interesting choice, South Carolina. I'm not sure I want to see all the big bags, patty whacks, give a dog a bone, being nude, running a race. Especially if I was running that race, I don't even think I'd make it 5K. 5K steps. The Carolina Foothills Resort, a nudist resort in whatever county, said this year's Buck Creek Streak 5K already has a record high number of people registered for June 14th race. That is crazy. Are we crazy if we want to go see this? I just know it's going to be a hot mess. Literally. You can go anywhere and do a 5K, but you can't go anywhere and run a 5K naked. It says this guy who sits on the resort's board of directors. If you go to the turkey trot and drop your drawers, you're probably going to be arrested. All right. I'm not sure why they thought of doing this, but interesting choice, y'all. And yeah, you can fact check me. It's yeah, this is legit. Yeah, strange news. If you guessed the KFC man, the guy visiting Kentucky to steal a bucket of chicken at KFC, I guess the KFC chicken in Kentucky is better than anywhere else. If that's true, let me know, because I'm not sure if there's like a different flavor. Is the Colonel stepping it up in Kentucky? We need to know. And if you guessed that was true, you were wrong because it was fake. That's probably why I was stumbling on saying this, because I'm literally reading nothing. I made that one up. But who knows? Tell me if it's actually true. It's not true in front of me, but maybe somewhere it is. And then the last one, cat escapes Florida vet and takes near 3-mile journey home. Like, to me, out of all the 3, if I was playing this would sound ridiculous because I didn't know cats were that smart. But then again, I mean, there are outdoor cats, and I've got a bunch of outdoor cats. If you want some, please adopt. Don't shop. There's literally 2 in my front porch, but they also keep the Baltimore rats at bay, so there's that as well. But a cat still with anesthesia in his system following surgery, that is crazy, escaped from a vet in Florida, now it makes sense, and made the nearly 3-mile trek home to his favorite chair. Bob Besock said his cat George, what a name for a cat, was at SPCA, Florida, to get neutered, and right after surgery, the feline managed to break out of a cage, climb a fence, and flee into the wilderness, all while still feeling the effects of anesthesia. I don't know about you guys, but when I've been anesthesiaed up, I can't function. I'm either complimenting you or going crazy, laughing and spazzing out. There's probably videos of me out there with anesthesia. And so, again, thanks for playing. Really appreciate it. And now we are to switch gears. And yeah, it's kind of like crazy to switch gears. Still gonna try to figure that out. But I always want to start with something fun before we get into the nitty gritty, something super serious, things that get intense. And yeah, I want to share with you guys a little bit about what got you to come see my podcast, Trip Ups and Triumphs. It was my announcement, actually, that I made a couple weeks ago. It's like almost, well, it's been a while. Yeah, time flies. But I had shared something really personal on my social media that I had not really shared in public before, even with family. Some of them might have been finding out for the very first time. And so I apologize if you never knew. But really, it wasn't my time to share, and I felt for whatever reason that it was time to share those inner deeper parts of me. And knowing all the messages that I got afterwards and just seeing what people have gone through online from what you all share, what I've spoken with people about. Yeah, we go through a lot of crap in life, and sometimes we feel uber alone and we're not sure how to deal with it. And a lot of times it's attributed to these secrets and these things that affect us and feel like we can't get help and that no one would listen, no one would believe us. And so I just want to encourage you right now that if you've ever been through some major tragedy in life, you are not alone. And at the very least, I am here. DMs are open and I want to hear all about it. But I'm here to share with you all. And if it's your very first time hearing this, welcome. I shared a very personal thing, and that was that I am a survivor. I am a part of what is not as viral anymore, and that's the Me Too movement. I suffered sexual abuse in my past. And what might be more captivating is the fact that I was very young. I was 4 years old, 5 years old, and that sexual abuse lasted for many years. It lasted well beyond it never should have started, but I was probably around 11, 12 years old. Let's say 11 comfortably. And that affected me so much more than what I've downplayed it to be. And I think that's really the reason why I decided to share this information much later. For one, to let people know that it's going to be okay. Two, it's not your fault at all. You didn't ask for it. Sorry that it happened. At all. And three is it affects you so much more than you realize. And to be honest, you don't have to deny it. You don't have to be like, oh, move on, especially if that's what other people have told you to do. Forget it. It's in the past. Can't you just get over it? Grow up already, or wow, that was such a long time ago. Anyway, speaking for those of you that have been sexually abused, yeah, those are lies. I hope you haven't internalized them. And for those of you that feel like it hasn't affected you as much, if you look at who you are now, the decisions you make, the decisions you don't make, the relationships you have, relationships you don't have, and I mean intimate and not intimate, and don't misconstrue the word intimate. It doesn't always mean sexual. It just means like the connections that you have and make or don't make are all affected by that abuse. And so when it came to my abuse, I have pushed it down so much and fake played a part for so long that I have no idea how it started. Now, a lot of people would say that it's because I was so young, but on the other hand, like we remember very pivotal and very useless information from childhood. You can remember something when you were 5 or 4, maybe I won't remember my first steps, but certain things like I remember stupid, silly things where I felt like I was having to decide between both of my parents and the way that they taught me how to tie shoes. One used two bunny ears, one used one bunny ear. One liked a mint chocolate chip, one liked, it wasn't cookies and cream, it was like a white chocolate chip. I don't know, but it does exist. Trust me. But yeah, sexual abuse does tend to follow you in a way that challenges you in other parts of your life. Personally, I just think about my lack of relationships growing up when it came to relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And they were non existent because I was afraid. I had that internalized fear. It is scary, for people to see you in that light. I know as a kid, I knew I was doing something wrong, but I was being forced and told to serve. And the sad part is that it wasn't just one person, it was two. And they weren't adults, they were teens and definitely old enough to know better. And it was still abuse. Doesn't matter what age they were. But I just remember doing it so frequently at my childhood home that it was annoying. It was frustrating. I didn't want to be home. I would regularly try to go to friends' houses, but it was crazy because my family was really weird about me going to friends' houses because they didn't know what was going on. Go figure. When a lot of this stuff was happening in their own roof and they know who they are. I can't imagine them not knowing, and that it was pretty cruddy of them to do. Yeah, and what was crazy is that it never happened with both of them at the same time. They were brothers, they were siblings, and that's like a double whammy because it's like not only am I messing with one, it's also messing with another in different times, and it's like how do I have time to be a child? How do I have time to be a kid when this is continually taking place? Yeah, it's just yeah, it's just frustrating to know that no one was around to help. That I was silenced, couldn't say anything. It's just you just did it and kind of suffered in silence. Not cool at all. Yeah, I mean there isn't too much to say in the regards of the abuse without getting graphic. But I could tell you it was definitely uncomfortable. It's where I learned way too much and knew way too much at such a young age. Instead of playing with blocks and watching cartoons, I'm having to, do things that no child should do ever. And then really feeling like there was no way out, that you were trapped and you had no choice. It was almost like I don't even know if they told me or not, but I felt like being the oldest sibling, it was my duty in order to protect my siblings from having to deal with the same thing. And then, for those of you that don't know, my parents were separated very young. They were young themselves when they had me. My mom and dad were 14 and 16 when my mom gave birth. It was a high road, a rough ride, not a high road. It was a rough ride. And, by the time I was four, case in point here, my dad had already gone to prison just in time for my one brother to be born. And yeah, from there, it's like, in a broken household, and a lot more people are experiencing that. Kids growing up without both parents in the home, it's not fun. Even if it was like it was best, it was better if they weren't together. Well, do some more planning, more figuring out, not to be so hard about that. But the absence of my father was definitely felt, knowing that it could have been prevented had he been there. But my mom would have to work lots of hours, and she was also a teen herself, uh, young adult, and my grandmother was also, divorced and preoccupied. I had very emotionally unavailable guardians. And so it just allowed for these opportunities to permeate, exist. And those teens actually were people that I knew, connected in some way. My grandmother was dating their father at the time, and so they had much access to the house. And I remember one time one of them had told me if I say anything, they're gonna tell, and that's so stupid because it's like, yeah, tell. But as a child, that threat kind of makes sense to you. And so you don't say anything. And already you're feeling the shame and the guilt. So that's just adding to it, saying like, wow, we don't want this to get out. So essentially I went years without saying anything at all to anyone. My closest friends never knew. My mom, God rest her soul, as far as I know, she did not know. And I eventually fessed up to my grandmother when I was maybe 18, 20 years old, and we had a big blow up. And my father when I was probably 30. That's crazy. But yeah, it's not fun for a guy to experience rape, sexual assault, being a victim of sexual abuse. It's not fun for a woman either. It's not fun for anyone to endure that because of just the long-term effects. Like I said, being a sexually active child is really, it's sick. I was essentially ill and never reporting to the doctor about it, right? I mean, that's what's happening. And so, I can just imagine how other people have experienced this pain and suffering and trying to go on about life, especially if it's a secret, right? So I just know that because of that, it opened up the doors to so many other things. Like I said, the relationships that didn't exist because I was so worried about that part of me, that sexual engagement or just letting someone else know and get to know me and have to share that. It's embarrassing. It was embarrassing. And then on top of that, just sex as a whole, just being constantly in my face, having young parents who were a part of the nightlife, having these two guys just around, having access to even back then in the 90s, having access to videos and the internet and, things. I, became addicted to pornography in first grade. Like that's young. That's an addiction. That's wild. And it has shaped me. It has not defined me, but it has caused a shift in my life. And I think about like what and who I could be and where I would be now had I not experienced that season in my life that lasted for what, 6 years? My whole childhood, like young childhood, 6, 7 years out the window. Yeah, not cool. It's sad to think. But on the flip side, I'm still here. You're still here. You survivors, you made it. And I'm so happy for you. I'm so thankful that we still get to do life, whether together or apart. We still have life. And you may be sitting here a little bit broken. Maybe you're just sad or angry. There were years where I was angry, physically wanting to retaliate in other parts of my life outside of here because of that. It's that bottled up frustration. I would just encourage you to just take a deep breath. I hope this doesn't reactivate anything and harm you. That is not my intention. Encourage you to talk to someone. If you've never shared that part of you, it actually changes you for the better. If you're worried about judgment, I cannot promise that everyone close to you that you share this with is not going to feel some type of way. It is possible that they do, but to be able to expel that outside of yourself is so freeing. I've been trapped for so long. I don't want you to feel that way. And a lot of you might also be like me, where I'm like a happy-go-lucky guy. I hid it so well as a child, or I thought I did, because I was just such a happy kid. And so, but now knowing what I know, those kids that stand out or the class clowns or act out in other ways and wanting attention, they want attention for a good reason because their self-esteem is so low. My self-esteem was so low. And I was just begging for someone to just pay me mind in a good, healthy way. and that was just the only way I knew. So it might have been being an instigator. Sorry, childhood friends, childhood parents. Yeah, it was a cry for help. But what I want to leave survivors and those people who aren't survivors, maybe you could be an ear for other people, and also pay attention to your kids, pay attention to your friends, because it's not always kids that are abused. Adults get abused, raped, molested as well. It is possible. Be patient. Don't be so biased. Listen, survivors, there's resources. If I'm not a resource, maybe there's a friend, a family member. Maybe it was a family member that abused you. Go to someone else. There's therapists, there's counselors, there's pastors, there's people that you can share this with, and it's okay. I hope you, on your journey for recovery and healing, is around the corner. And if you are already healed, maybe you have some really awesome information that you can share with someone who is just starting that part of their life. And I hope that you will be able to spread your message out far and wide to help others be able to cope with what they've been holding in for so long. And you're still here. You made it. You made it. And on that note, I hope you guys take care. You have a great day. If you are experiencing a trip up, the triumph is around the corner. And if you already are experiencing your triumph, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. So again, this podcast, the objective is to keep it real about the highs and lows of life. I hope I kept it real with you today. Coming soon, there will be guests that have really awesome stories to share. And if you are interested in being a guest on a future episode of Trip Ups and Triumphs, please feel free to comment or DM me. Don't be shy. You've got something to share. You've got a low in your life, or maybe you haven't reached that high yet, and we can talk about that too. And if you did reach your high, come by, follow, like, and subscribe. This is the time to do that. I hope you will be back for the next episode, and love you. Take care and be well.